It is unusual for a UFC fighter to remain on the company's roster after 4 consecutive losses. While there's no questioning Oliveira's skills and ability, as well as his always entertaining approach, he was no exception. In today's video, we'll discuss the various fighters that have been released by UFC and the reasons behind these actions. Stay tuned. Alex Oliveira. After 7 years in the UFC, Alex Oliveira has parted ways with the promotion. The Brazilian fought in 22 fights throughout his UFC tenure, amassing an 11-10-1 UFC record. Following the expiration of his contract, Oliveira was let go by the promotion. Oliveira's manager, Alex Davis, confirmed the news. The 34-year-old was last seen in action in March 2021 when he was defeated by Kevin Holland in the second round of UFC 272. Oliveira, a 22-fight Octagon veteran, has been a vital part of the UFC since his debut with the organization in 2015. Oliveira made his UFC debut against Gilbert Burns at UFC Fight Night 62 in March 2015. Oliveira was defeated in the third round by armbar submission. After this, Oliveira went on a 7-1 run with 1 no contest over his following 8 fights. Oliveira defeated Tim Means and KJ Oliveira, also beat KJ and former Bellator champ Will Brooks. Oliveira went on to lose 8 more fights after that. He swung back and forth between wins and losses, yet he still managed to win several major triumphs. Alex Oliveira was on a losing run when he was released by the UFC. Unfortunately, Oliveira has struggled in recent years, having lost his last 4 fights in a row. Cowboy had lost a unanimous decision to Nico Price and 2 first-round submission losses to Randy Brown and Shavkat Rakhmonov. Oliveira's final fight on his contract was a TKO defeat to Kevin Holland at UFC 272 in March, dropping his record to 2-7 in his last 9 fights. While he was able to bounce back from that loss, the Brazilian UFC career was an up-and-down journey. His longest win streak in the Octagon saw Cowboy string together 4 victories. Jason High. In the early 2010s, Jason High was a mainstay in the UFC's lightweight division. The Strikeforce veteran fought 5 times in the promotion, the final time against Rafael Dos Anjos in June 2014. Following the Dos Anjos loss, the Kansas City Bandit was truly dismissed from the UFC and blackballed from the organization, following a contentious stoppage with which High disapproved. High shoved the referee while protesting the stoppage. Later that night, Dana White released him, adding that touching an official is never acceptable. Demetrius Johnson. Demetrius Johnson may be the UFC's all-time leader in consecutive title defenses, but it doesn't mean everything was perfect between him and the organization. Johnson famously fought with UFC president Dana White over the years, with Johnson complaining about White's bullying techniques and White stating flatly that nobody cared about Johnson. Finally, the UFC kicked him out of the organization as soon as they could, following his contentious split decision loss to Henry Cejudo at UFC 227. Johnson was traded to one championship in exchange for Ben Askren. Wanderlei Silva. Wanderlei Silva is widely regarded as one of the most popular MMA fighters of all time. The Axe Murderer was always a great fighter who put up some crazy battles throughout the years. However, don't expect to see him at any upcoming UFC events. The Nevada State Athletic Commission punished Silva for life after he failed a drug test prior to his fight with Chael Sonnen at UFC 175. If that wasn't awful enough, Silva was quickly fired from the UFC, and Dana White expressly vowed that he would be Pete Rost and that the UFC would never respect the Brazilian again. Chris Cyborg. Chris Cyborg's feud with the UFC before joining it is well documented. The UFC had refused to sign Cyborg for years due to her failed drug test, and Dana White had made fun of the former Strikeforce champion on several occasions, famously comparing Cyborg to Wanderlei Silva in a dress and shoes. So with Cyborg's UFC deal coming after a lot of controversy, it only made sense that it would finish there. Cyborg was fired immediately after manipulating an audio chat between White and her following her victory over Felicia Spencer. Following the publication of the video, the UFC severed links with Cyborg and proclaimed that they were no longer in the Cyborg business. Randy Couture. Randy Couture's feud with the UFC dates back several years. The problems originated mostly from a 2007 dispute over compensation concerns, and they even went to court when Couture tried to get out of his contract to face Fedor Emelianenko. The two eventually reconciled, with Couture competing for the promotion for another 4 years. Dana White appeared to be done playing nice with Couture after his retirement in 2011. He stated that he had no regard for Couture and was relieved that he would never have to work with him him again. Couture has also been barred from entering UFC events since then. Mark Hunt. For the most of his UFC career, Mark Hunt and the promotion had a nice relationship. It wasn't until 2016 that everything fell apart. Following his match with Brock Lesnar, it was discovered that Lesnar tested positive for an estrogen blocker, sending Hunt into a tailspin. Hunt said that the UFC permitted the organization to fight him knowing he was on performance-enhancing drugs. Hunt subsequently sued the UFC, and the two are currently fighting in court over that accusation, as well as Hunt's other complaints against the organization. Hunt was let go in 2018 after 3 consecutive losses. Paul Daly. When Paul Daly faced Josh Koscheck at UFC 113, he was a rising star in the welterweight class. Daly, on the other hand, was overpowered on his way to a wide decision loss. Nevertheless, it was his post-fight conduct that got him fired. Daly came over to Koscheck and sucker punched him seconds after the fight concluded. The hit didn't do much damage, but it was enough to have him kicked out of the UFC and permanently blackballed. Ken Shamrock. Until 2007, Ken Shamrock appeared to have a fairly warm relationship with the UFC. Shamrock was fired from the UFC after 3 consecutive losses, but this did not sit well with him. Shamrock said that he was informed he would receive 1 more UFC bout and that he had 1 more on his contract when he was let go. He actually sued the UFC over the release, but the judge ruled in the favor of the UFC and ordered Shamrock to pay their court expenses as well. As a result of all the controversy, he won't be appearing in any UFC events in the near future. John Madsen. The Ultimate Fighter has produced some of the biggest stars in the history of the promotion. In all fairness, the series has produced some forgettable combatants that viewers seem to overlook. John Madsen most certainly fits into the latter type, which is why, following a loss from Mike Rousseau in early 2011, he appeared replaceable to the UFC leadership. Prior to the defeat, Madsen was 4-0 inside the octagon and had a perfect 7-0 professional record. While his grinding technique had its doubters, Madsen caught on and vowed that he would not have any more dull bouts. The wrestler won a TKO victory over Gilbert Yvel in less than 2 minutes in his last bout before being released. Todd Duffy. Todd Duffy's release is an intriguing story. After setting in the UFC record for quickest knockout in his professional debut, the heavyweight tormented Mike Rousseau for 2.5 rounds until being rocked with a 1-punch KO. Duffy was scheduled to face John Madsen again at UFC 121. However, he backed out due to a nagging knee ailment. Soon after, it was stated that he had been fired. UFC President Dana White stated in an interview with Ariel Helwani that Duffy's dismissal from the promotion was due to the big man's attitude issues. Miquel Falcao. Few fighters are fired from the UFC after a victory. Among them is Miquel Falcao. According to reports, Falcao's exit had little to do with poor performance or attitude. It was rather the outcome of a December 2010 arrest stemming from a 2002 assault accusation. Falcao's departure was revealed in a letter by Falcao's manager. Falcao's release is questionable because he was not the only UFC competitor charged with a felony while under contract. Jeremy Stevens was charged on an assault charge a year back, while former lightweight Reza Madadi was detained on suspicion of burglary just before Falcao's release. Gerald Harris. Gerald Harris was a promising talent in the UFC middleweight division before his fight with Miquel Falcao at UFC 123. With a 3-0 record inside the octagon and 2 knockout of the night bonuses to his name, no one anticipated Hurricane to be cut. Harris, on the other hand, committed the remainder of his energy on making it to the end of the battle in one piece after weathering severe difficulties in the first round. That didn't make for an entertaining battle, and Harris was made an example of with his fast release. That's a wrap for this video. Will we see Nate Diaz be the next big name to exit UFC after Alex Oliveira? Or will Dana White manage to convince him to stay? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.